talk about why treating a trapezius knot is so complicated. And I'm your guide, I'm Dr. Daniel Lopez. In a previous example in another video, we discussed how a knot can be formed, and in the example it was very simple. It was a muscle that crosses over a single joint, and then it has two attachment points, and if something changed at the joint that caused a change in the distance between the attachment points, then the muscle would have to react to that and oftentimes form a knot from it. Now, that was a very simple example, but the trapezius is far more complicated. So let's look at this picture of the trapezius here, and notice that the trapezius crosses over about 20 joints, and so it has a lot more potential for things to go wrong. I mean, a problem at any of those joints can really force the trapezius to form a knot. And so that's anywhere along that can be between the head and the neck, any of the vertebrae of the neck, any of the vertebrae of the thoracic spine, and then also how the shoulder blade moves. And there's even more to it than that. I mean, this is still a simple explanation, but if there's, for example, something that commonly happens is with people who have a forward bent posture. If their posture is forward bent, their shoulders tend to roll forward. Now, look at how much that's going to force the shoulder blades to come out. So that's going to move the shoulder blades from their normal position, and that's going to force the trapezius muscles to oftentimes contract and try to protect the problem. Then the trapezius attaches onto the collarbone and the shoulder blade, and so there is what's called the AC joint up here, and that can, any problems there, whether it's just something you don't actively feel, or if you do have an injury there, like an AC joint separation, then that will cause the trapezius muscle to contract, and especially if the joint isn't working optimally. It's not about whether the joint is working and you have range of motion. It's about whether the joint is working optimally, exactly the way it's designed to. And if it's not, then it's oftentimes going to be somewhat sensitive and produce a knot. So that is a fairly basic explanation. So there's all those joints and potential for problems. With a lot of patients I see, it's not just about their shoulders rolling forward. Sometimes their shoulders come in towards the midline, so they're compressed like this, and we also have to bring things out away from their body to their shoulders out to get the trapezius knot to relax. But then there's also the nerves. You know, the nerves that innervate the upper part of the trapezius come from the skull. It's from cranial. It's called your cranial nerve 11, your accessory nerve, and it comes down and innervates that area. And that is often associated, or that can cause problems in terms of the trapezius and form some issues related to stress. So, furthermore, there is a strong membrane in the head and spinal cord that helps protect your central nervous system. It's called Dura mater, and the Dura mater is innervated by some cranial nerves that innervate some other areas. But one thing is, if your jaw muscles are tense, that actually can be indicative that the Dura mater is irritated, because it's the same cranial nerve that innervates these muscles also innervates the Dura mater. And so the dura is indirectly can influence the trapezius via attachments and connections to some of the small muscles in the upper neck, and then also the ligament that the trapezius directly attaches to in the neck, called ligamentum nuchae, does have a direct attachment to Dura mater. So if it's irritated, it can very well irritate the trapezius and form issues there. So hopefully that explains some of the complexity of why it's so hard to treat the trapezius. But now in the next video we're going to kind of go through a systematic example of how we can treat and address these things and approach it in a different way, so that hopefully you can get some better results. And I'll see you in the video.